Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our PLM Packaging Overview webinar. My name is Nick Exposito, and today we are joined by Robbie Morrison, VP of PLM Product Management at PTC. Just as always, just a quick reminder, everyone who signed up for this webinar will get a copy of it after it airs. We're going to try to leave some time for questions at the end. And also, you can find this and more on our website as well as our YouTube page. So be sure to like and subscribe. So without any further delay, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Robbie. And yep, hope everyone enjoys.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. All right, so just a quick, by way of quick introduction, as Nick mentioned, my name is Robbie Morrison. I'm responsible for product management of Windchill, and I'll be going through with you just a overview of the new PLM packaging that we put together for the Windchill, Navigate, Creo View, and Creo Illustrate portfolio inside of PTC. So I want to start with, what drove us to take a look at how we were pricing and packaging Windchill and the surrounding portfolio, and why look at changing. And we engaged a lot with customers, including many surveys, to understand how they were buying our products and kind of the challenges that they were being seen and being able to manage that at scale. And there were three key things that we wanted to focus on in kind of evolving and making some modifications. The first is really around enhanced value, making sure that our customers find it easier to get access to and utilize the best of breed PLM capabilities in order to drive digital transformation in the business. The second is really around extension and scale, helping our customers be able to more easily bring in a broader set of constituents and users into their PLM system for purposes of collaborating and ultimately getting their products to market faster. And the third is really around reducing the friction. We wanted to make it simpler and easier to utilize the PLM system and take advantage of that, right? And ultimately, we wanted it to transition to less administrative overhead in order to do so. So these were really the driving kind of pillars of what would drove us to relook at and update the way that we were packaging the capabilities in Windchill, Navigate, Creo View, and Creo Illustrate. So just to dive a little bit deeper, right? So when we talk about enhanced value, one of the key things that we found was that especially as our customers were matriculating up in their maturity stack with Windchill, there were artificial barriers getting in the way of them taking advantage of more advanced product management features, especially in the areas of parts classification, supplier management, which weren't kind of scaling or making it very easy to roll out inside of their company. So we took a look at across the entirety of the portfolio and really focused on folding in the capabilities in a simplified way that allowed our customers to focus on what roles and reach that they are rolling their PLM system out into in their company, be it either just the simple design community, sourcing, manufacturing, supply chain, and bringing the best of breed capabilities to those roles so they can continue to focus on how they can use Windchill to drive digital transformation and not trying to micromanage kind of a feature function level capability. So really making sure that you're focused on setting yourselves up to drive that expansion within your company. The second pillar around extension and scale is really wanting to make sure that we were making it simpler to have users come in and engage with Windchill. So this came in the form of really trying to focus a lot more on utilizing our ADU pricing and packaging model for our simpler constituencies with the view and collaboration users, as well as making it just simpler to be able to onboard and manage them. So a big piece of being able to do that was also around the acknowledgement and product enhancements that will be coming with Windchill 13.1.2 coming out in October to make sure that as you're rolling this out, the system itself acknowledges the hierarchy amongst those users, right? So if you want to place all of the users inside of your Windchill system inside of a simple view license, and then decide to allocate some of those subset of users to say designers into an appropriate license, you won't have to try and micromanage moving them from one group to another. You can just simply say, yep, all base users of Windchill start with View, and then we're going to give a higher tier license to the higher users. And the Windchill system will recognize and say, hey, in that, as of Windchill 13.1.2 coming in October, it will acknowledge that and say, yep, we'll be able to remove them from the View license and only count against the higher tier license. So that would simplify that scalability and overall management of the users coming into the system. And we also wanted to reduce friction, right? A big piece of feedback was that as we're utilizing these capabilities in the system, we want to have the company be able to grow into and take advantage of, do we want to try out parts classification? Do we want to try out managing Sumo? Can I do it with a small subset of users and then grow into it? By folding that in, we really focused on having one of the loud feedback that we got was trying to figure out, what users needed base or advanced and which ones needed which feature function became very complicated. So we really focused on reorienting these towards what are the different roles inside of a company and what are the things they need to be able to accomplish in their product development process. Because that was really the strong feedback we got from the surveys and customer interactions that we did, is that we needed to ultimately simplify and make it easier to understand what's required in order to scale and roll out Windchill. So with these kind of value pillars in place and kind of driving the feedback we did, we came up with a new overall packaging structure that we really resonated a lot better with those who involved in the interview process and helped simplify rolling that out. So let's take a quick look at it. So I know it looks a little complicated. There are a lot of things on the screen, but the reality is that this new packaging structure, which I'll dive in and deeper into in the individual areas in a moment, actually represents an 85% reduction in the amount of different types of licenses that are actually inside of the overall Windchill portfolio. So it's actually a very large consolidation of all of the different types of licenses by really focusing on how can we identify the roles and users who are going to be interacting with the system. And we really focused on breaking it up into two core, let's say, tiers of users. We have the core users of the PLM system, which are really going to be your engineering community, right? These are your designers, your project managers, your people who are dealing with manufacturing processes, service information. These are people who are ultimately going to be authoring all of the product development deliverables, vaulting them in Windchill, and releasing them. And then the other tier that we have here is the tier that we call enterprise users. This is really the extended ecosystem inside of your company who needs and has a reasonable reason to be able to access, engage, and collaborate as part of the product development process. So these are folks who aren't really going to be sitting there and creating drawings, or aren't really going to be sitting there and creating or uploading process plans. But they do need to be able to download a drawing, do need to be able to kind of review a change request and say, yep, I approve, here's my feedback on it. And that's really meant to be broad. And that was a big focus for us. How can we make sure that we can really meet these users where they're at and make it a lot easier and simpler in order to engage with them? So that's what drove us, is really focus on what are the roles, how can our customers help consume this and be able to put folks in those roles. So let's step through a little bit kind of what's involved there. In each of these, we really have it broken down into a couple key sections. The middle row here you see is what we refer to as the user access level. So these are going to be just your base licenses of Windchill. Every user should have a base license of Windchill in some capacity. And then depending on the role that they play in the company, we created the more advanced modules that give them the more advanced capabilities that are really aligned as what is their job to be done? What are they looking to accomplish? How are they participating as part of the product development process? And then one of the strong feedback that we also got was that in a lot of cases, our customers were struggling with how to appropriately extend the reach of Windchill into their supply base. And just from a logistical bringing those people on, they were very spotty in nature. They were very, they would participate at just at certain junctures. So the usage profile weren't really the same as the users who were using it day to day. So, in acknowledgement of that, we created a different type of base user licenses, which are external users. So these are going to be people who specifically have an external email domain from different from your traditional users inside of the system, who represent your supply chain, who you would like to actually bring into Windchill and give them a license to either be able to author and create data, or be able to create, collaborate, download, sign off on things, who may just be ultimately, the suppliers that you are distributing drawings to at the end of the day. We did this in order to simplify even further the types of licenses that go in there, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But also acknowledge that the price you would expect to pay for bringing those people you're just trying to distribute out into is a little different than your core design community. So these are those three swim lanes that we see in the middle, and kind of break those into, again, that base user access, external users, which are different form of base user access, and then the role-based modules that will go on top. So let's take a look at what these different packages end up looking like as a result. And let's go left to right here. So again, those enterprise users are really meant to be the extended ecosystem who is either consuming data, but downloading it, accessing it, viewing it, or signing off on workflows. So in that bucket, we have for base users, very similar to how we have had in the past between a view and what we previously called a contribute license. We have a view and acknowledge and an enterprise collaboration license. Very similar with some slight adjustments. We do have a tier of users now in the viewing of content coming from Windchill that we augmented to also give them what we call the acknowledge capability. So this is at the moment very specific to our MedTech customer base, who has, with our MedDev module, the ability to roll out training and tracking of standard operating procedures. And those users really are simply viewing a standard operating procedure and acknowledging that they've read it. They're not approving change workflows. They're not uploading documents. They're not changing anything. They're really just saying, yes, I had a task to review the standard operating procedure and I've acknowledged it. And that's really more aligned with your simple consumption of data in the system. So we've created a dedicated package tied to that. The second is really aligned with the same as how we've done our contribute licenses in the past, which is really our enterprise collaborator. So these are going to be all of your managers, approvers, people participating in workflows and uploading, simple documents that really need to be coming in and out of the system in order to do those approvals, but they're not really going to be authoring a whole lot of content. So that's our second tier inside of this goal, and both of those are offered as registered user and active daily user. Um, the result of that gives us the most flexibility in either having user types who are in some cases legitimately approving and signing off on workflows every day, or you may be ultimately serving a much broader user base which is using it very intermittently, and that gives you a vehicle for being able to service those users without having to pay for licenses for each one of them that they're occupying entirely. Now, those two are largely speaking not totally dissimilar than how we've had it in the past. What's a little bit different is now the addition of the shop floor module as well as the supplier collaboration license. Now, I'll start from supplier here in the bottom. The supplier collaboration license is functionally identical to the enterprise collaboration license. So these are going to be the same capabilities in terms of approval of workflows, uploading of documents, viewing and downloading content. Apologies for that. And being able to do ultimately those same things, but we have it available at a reduced price point with more flexibility, or in terms of who you assign that to, as long as they are tied to external user domains. So that again recognizes that you may have an even broader reach inside of a supply chain that uses it even less frequently than you see in the internal constituents. The other new package that we have here is really what we call a shop floor package. So this is actually a different licensing mechanism entirely, whereby we acknowledge that in order to serve up drawings, manufacturing process plans, work instructions into the manufacturing environment, a lot of times there are shift work employees or large amounts of users that really are very difficult to track, and really you just want to make sure that those content you're creating as part of the product development process gets in their hands. So we've created a way to license the machines in which the data is being accessed instead of the users who are accessing that data. So this gives our customers a lot better flexibility in either tailoring the distribution of this data down to individual users with view and acknowledge and enterprise collaboration, those individual users with intermittent usage by using the ADU model, their supply chain by having a different price point and an expectation for suppliers to be able to access the content, as well as a machine who's simply going to be able to say, yes, if I'm on the shop floor and accessing this content, doesn't really matter who I am, I'm able to get at it and download it and interact with it. So really focused on flexibility of being able to roll that out across the entirety of your enterprise. All right, so with that, let's talk a little bit about the core users. So the core users that we have here, the way that these work is we still have the base user licenses. So we have the standard authors. That should be a one-to-one with your standard users of Windchill. And we have a supplier author. Now, again, similar pattern to enterprise collaboration and supplier collaboration. In this case, standard author and supplier author are very similar with one augmentation, which is that the supplier author is a simplification of both standard author and the design engineering package. So that means that the supplier author, for use cases where you have a very broad supply chain, but you're doing co-design with it, so you're actually having your suppliers making modifications or indeed providing designs, are able to have an appropriate license in order to check that content into Windchill. Now, your internal users are really going to be tied to a standard author license and one of the role-based packages. So let's talk a little bit about what goes in some of these packages, and we'll deep dive them in a little bit later. But the idea here is that standard author is going to be able to do basic data management functions, check in documents, create projects, create change notices, anything that's guiding the ultimate process. And then the various role-based packages above are really tied to the different functions that are managing different pieces of the process. So inside of engineering, so this is going to be your traditional design and focus really around an engineering bill of material and design deliverables. We have two packages for designers, Design Engineer Lite, which is only for managing CAD data, and Design Engineer Full, which is responsible for CAD data and managing the resulting bill of material. So that's going to be utilizing a W2 part. And Product Engineer, who is really somebody who's managing just the bill of material. So they do not have a requirement to manage any MCAD integration. So no Creo integration or anything like that. We then also have manufacturing process planning, which is going to give us a vehicle for managing all of our NPM link content. So this is going to be the ability to both transform bill of materials and be able to create a process plan around them. And we have our quality and audit roles, which are responsible for people who are managing the quality and audit management processes. So tied to these are going to be really your internal audit individual, somebody who is managing a CAP or a nonconformance within the supply chain. So they're really going to be managing the processes, and then anyone who is participating in that process, either be it a standard author or a different capacity, still has the ability to interact in that process. They just don't have the specialized capabilities for managing the process. And then we have the service role. So service parts and service information is really where we have the service parts is for managing the creation of a parts list and a service bill of materials. So that includes the ability to do service BOM transformation as well as creating part management and ultimately technical publications if desired. And then service information management is just for users who are looking to do technical publication management. So this includes our integration with capability with our Arbortext suite and the resulting GDD objects that you need to be able to manage. Now, on top of that, there are only two instances of additional packages that can go above those roles. One is tied to advanced product design, which can be utilized with either of the design engineer licenses or product engineering, which is really going to give you access to our most complex capabilities from a engineering kind of design point of view. And really that's tied to creating and managing product platforms with our smart platforms licenses. So this is creating advanced rules and expressions for configurable products, doing dynamic positioning, as well as managing BOM transformation inside of engineering. So we did get feedback from certain individuals that they had a function where engineering was actually doing the initial transformation into either a configuration BOM or kind of a planning BOM, but they weren't actually managing the process plan itself. This gives a vehicle for getting access to those capabilities without having to go all the way into managing the manufacturing process itself. And then the manufacturing work instruction author is really a specialized license of Creo Illustrate that goes along with the manufacturing process planning. And we do have some exciting plans in the roadmap to continue to push the integration between Creo Illustrate and NPM Link to be able to bring those worlds closer and closer together and make it simpler and simpler in order to manage those process plans and work instructions together as one cohesive set of tools. Again, strong feedback from customers that, awesome, you demonstrate to me all of these powerful capabilities, but I have no idea how to link them together to get value out of them. This new format really is very prescriptive. If we want to be able to manage in best-in-class capabilities and creating work instructions on for your manufacturing processes, awesome. The individuals who are responsible for doing that can have a process planning license and a work instruction author license, which allows them to pull together what the process looks like and what it takes in order to be able to realize that. So really what that comes down to is, every kind of standard author will have, or every author user in Windchill will have a standard author license. And then a great deal of them will be aligned with one or another role-based package. There are instances in personas that will not have an additional role-based package. So things like project managers, change control boards, where their main role is managing the overall process itself, do not require that. They can simply use the standard author license. And then a great deal of folks line up in one of these different role-based packages. Now, that's going to be the primary vehicle for managing all of the users inside of the system. But we do have some instances of additional add-ons that are fairly specialized for either different industries or different capabilities, which I'll deep dive a little deeper into, and will allow you to kind of expand the set of capabilities that you have in Windchill. So I already spoke to a lot of these along the way, but I'll hit now on the highlights of what's included in these packages. So from a viewer point of view, looking at how we historically have had capabilities, these users in the Windchill Navigate, View, and Acknowledge license are able to view and download content. So they can view bill of materials, parts lists, download drawings. They're able to do searches, so they can look at doing classified searches of the system. They can do a review and acknowledge task tied to that standard operating procedure review, as well as get access to the Navigate apps as well. So this combination of a package here simplifies both the ability to have access to all of this interaction with data, as well as access to navigate interface if you see value in being able to use the simplified user interface that our Windchill Navigate product brings. In the collaborator role, they have similar capabilities stepping up from that was available in View and Acknowledge. They also have the ability to do issue identification and problem report creation, document creation, promote and review objects inside of Windchill, so that way you can sign off on review tasks, approve workflows, and get access to the Navigate, Collaborate, and View apps, as well as custom Navigate apps, which are available to users if you're using and building on top of the ThingWorx platform. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more detail when I get to some of the add-ons. The shop floor license is going to be very similar, but in addition to that, we have released now additional manufacturing specific Navigate apps for viewing and interacting with work instructions. So we now have a specialized app that is able to view and interact with process plans that are authored in NPM Link, as well as view and interact with the work instructions that are associated with each of those operating procedures. Going on down the line, if we take a look at what's available in the author users, inside of the standard author, as I mentioned, we really start with the ability to do basic kind of process and document management. So users are able to upload and manage documents. They are also able to interact with and do PDF collaboration. So in this case, you have the ability to actually bring those documents up and use CreoView in order to mark them up, draw on them, communicate with red lines and content. It also includes our security label capabilities with secure collaboration, because we do believe that in this day and age that we should have all of our customers being able to utilize and take advantage of our most advanced access control mechanisms for ensuring only the right individuals have access to that content. It does include the ability to classify and reuse things. So the parts classification license is actually inside of the standard author license, which really gives you the ability even to do simple document classification. This is a good example of where we've really moved away from trying to have a whole lot of piece parts that you have to manage and pay extra for, and really just baked things in and kept it very simple and able to access that. And when you see value in it, you're able to grow into it, right? And then they're also able to do change management and project management from a process point of view, which I mentioned earlier. Similar, as we're going from view to collaborate to author, they get access to all of the Navigate apps as well. So those same users can utilize the Navigate apps if they see value in them. And then we also include in now and simplify our basic ERP connector capabilities, which had been in the previous packages before. So that way the ability to be able to push data out to ERP is a basic function of Windchill, but also all of the licensing tied to the CreoView ECAD and MCAD adapters. So you can really utilize all of the rich portfolio of content conversion that we have available and use them however you see fit, so long as you have the appropriate CAD license that they are based on. I.e., they will include the ability to convert it, but we don't include automatically an Inventor or SolidWorks license. If you're using those adapters, you need to bring them to bear. And it also includes Information Modeler as well as some other integration level type capabilities, which really we're starting to micromanage all kinds of individual components. And we said, look, we want to make this nice and simple. If you have value in integrating Windchill in your enterprise, then yes, we're going to bring the tools to bear in order for you to be able to do so as you see fit in driving digital transformation. Now, let's take then a quick stroll through what the role-based packages look like. So I mentioned those designers. So the idea here is really that anybody looking at these roles should be able to internally say, yep, I know how many designers I have in my organization. I know how many people who are going to need to manage CAD creation and management of CAD data inside of Windchill. And I can put them in one of these two licenses, either the Design Engineer Lite, which is just tied to the MCAD integration and the workgroup managers, or a Design Engineer, right, which gives you access to both that and part and BOM management. Now, key inside of here is, unlike previous generations where we tried to differentiate between Creo and SolidWorks and Inventor and AutoCAD, really we just kept it very simple and said, yep, this is going to be the license that if you are managing CAD data inside of your PLM system, gives you a rich access to whatever integrations you need available from PTC in order to be able to manage that CAD data inside of Windchill, as well as then, as I mentioned, from a simplification point of view, the part and BOM management in this area leverages the fact that that classification license is embedded inside of the base user and makes available to anybody with a part and BOM management license the ability to create parts, classify them, as well as manage supplier parts and approve manufacturing vendor lists where appropriate. So really that makes it simple. At that point, we're condensing it down to these role-based packages outside of Design Engineer Lite, which is just for folks who are only managing CAD data. All of the other role-based packages include the ability to be able to manage, author, and collaborate around parts and bill of material management. And then the product engineer, as I mentioned earlier, is really anyone who's in the engineering roles who needs to be able to manage, release the part definition, including what's in that bill of material, is really what that product engineering role is for. As I mentioned earlier, the BOM transformation and platforms license then can get added to any of those who have designers who need to be able to get access to it. Inside of the manufacturing space, our manufacturing process planner, again, gives you everything you need in order to accomplish the particular outcome. Rather than trying to say, okay, this person's going to have a base license in Creo Illustrate or an advanced license and they're going to do BOM transformation. We said, look, to get this through end to end, this will give them the ability to manage parts, BOM transformation, platform management where it makes sense. They don't have to use it if they don't need to, but if they do have configurable products, they need to be able to leverage them for configurable product plans, process plans, and the ability to make those process plans. So it really simplifies that. These roles are really tied to users who are trying to get to creating that process plan. And then on top of that, we have that Creo Illustrate license for authoring work instructions that will be tighter and tighter integrated into the overall manufacturing process planning. In the quality area, we have the ability to manage quality and audit processes, CAPA, nonconformance, and customer experience management processes, as well as, again, that part and BOM management. In the service area, we have the service parts management, which is really the advanced management of service parts list and bill of materials. So that includes the ability to do BOM transformation. So that way you can take an engineering bill of material and restructure it based on how you're structuring kits or serviceable components, as well as take advantage of creating parts lists from the resulting SBOM and service manuals, and even doing so in a way that works with a configurable BOM as well, if that makes sense for you. And then we offer, again, a simpler license actually for just doing the service information management. All right, so hopefully you can see here with this, we really tried to take all of these individual piece parts, which were all separate and lots of tiny little components, and really focus on what is the role that needs to be done, how is this going to be accomplished, and let's give them the tools they need in order to accomplish that outcome. Now, I'm going to spend the next 15 minutes talking a little bit about some of the, apologize on the build here, talking about the role-based add-ons. So I talked a little bit about supplier, author, and collaborator. I'll leave this here. This will be in part of the material, but for time purposes and to make sure we can spend a little bit of time in questions and answers, I'm going to talk a little bit more about those add-on capabilities, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So inside of the add-on capabilities, we do still have some more advanced pieces of the portfolio. So we do still have our CreoView MCAD and ECAD clients. So these are CreoView MCAD and ECAD, as well as their optional modules, which are really meant to provide a dedicated set of tools to maximize your collaboration around enterprise validation and review of product definitions, as well as doing advanced digital mockup analysis. So these include the capabilities that were in CreoView MCAD around design compare, around being able to color-coded search, around interacting with creating groups and analyzing the outputs. But they also include the optional modules. So this gives you the ability to be able to do things like design validation and assembly comparison. So this is going to give you again, the more advanced assembly compare capabilities, interference detection, and as well as new capabilities that are available around model-based definition comparison. So we now have the ability to, and you can see there in the screen, take two different revisions of a component which were fully MBD authored and actually be able to highlight to you what has changed in it from a PMI point of view from one version to another. It can show you what was added, what was modified, and really help aid in that natural evolution of what was previously a drawing compare, right? In a drawing world, you would overlay the two drawings over one another, color code red anything that got removed, green anything that got added. This is the MBD equivalent of what that looks like by bringing both models up side by side and giving you an ability to look through all of those modifications in a color coded fashion. We do also keep our Windchill risk and reliability portfolio. So this is a very advanced tool set which allows for reliability engineering and evaluation. So this area of our portfolio really hasn't changed a ton. We provide a couple different mechanisms and a couple advanced analytics packages for being able to do that analysis, be it either a Markov analysis, reliability block diagrams, FMEA or fault tree analysis. This area of our portfolio we really didn't change. So if you're an existing risk and reliability customer, there's no modifications to the way that you've been using the tool today. There is one user-based package inside of the add-ons, which is our regulatory hub-based package. And this is really an additional user-based license for customers who are building up regulatory submissions and managing those regulatory submissions inside of Windchill. So we do have advanced capabilities that create new object types for managing these regulatory submissions, as well as the process of collecting all of the content and that needs to be part of that submission and where it got submitted to and its status. And this really unlocks that ability, which is largely tailored towards our medical device manufacturing customer base. We do have our CreaView adapter for PDF still. So this is our solution that is based on Adobe Experience Manager and includes the ability to automate PDF generation, as well as being able to generate markup or generate watermarks and cover sheets and merger of content. I will say, though, that we do see a lot of customers starting to transition into utilizing some of our other capabilities because the base ability to generate PDFs from Office documents is now included in the basic package. So you automatically have the ability to utilize our CreaView adapter from Microsoft Office in order to do this conversion without needing to purchase this. This is really tied to just the more advanced PDF content manipulation use cases where you're trying to build up large data packages or merge content or create watermarks. We do maintain our ESI solutions for Oracle and SAP. So this is our TIBCO-based integration technology that provides a turnkey solution for being able to take the Windchill content and being able to transact that into SAP ECC6, SAP S/4HANA, as well as Oracle Application Suite through EBS. So we do maintain this, and again, the licensing in this area has not changed. We simplified greatly the way that we had been managing our vertical specific capabilities into two simple vertical specific modules. We have a medical device manufacturing module and we have an FA&D module. And these modules are a per server license, or which means that you really just have to license the ability to install this into a Windchill instance. All of the corresponding user-based capabilities are automatically baked into the appropriate roles that we just went over in the previous slides. So that means things like being able to manage a unique device identifier inside of Windchill tied to this medical device module, is really already baked into any users who have the ability to manage that object type. So simplifies greatly understanding all of the complexities of these vertical specific nuances by just saying, yep, one simple module, purchase it, install it in a Windchill. Everything else is already baked into the user packages that are using Windchill. And similarly, as I mentioned, going to be the same case for the FA&D module, which is specific to our federal aerospace and defense. This provides things like cage code handling, contract and subcontract data requirement lists, so siege rules and S rules, as well as some enhancements around product architecture management that are specific to how things work in aerospace. We also continue to support our Windchill extensions. So we do have and have been promoting our Windchill extensions, and there is a growing list of capabilities that are inside of these bundles that give you access to a lot of nice app-like capabilities to extend the value easily in your digital transformation. Things like representation export. They also include watermarking and cover sheet as a more simple implementation compared to how we the more advanced capabilities that are available in the Creo adapter for PDF, as well as things like integrations with Silicon Expert. So if you haven't checked that out, I would suggest that you go and take a look at that on windchillextensions.ptc.com, and you can just take a look there and browse around at the types of different extensions that are available for Windchill in that package. All right, last but not least, we have the Windchill Navigate base license. So this license is what we had previously called a connected PLM license. So we had strong feedback from our install base that they would like to see simplification of what it takes in order to license and utilize the ThingWorx platform in order to scale and build custom and tailored apps in their environment. So this represents a pretty big change in the way we've done that. So now it's a very simple package that allows you to just purchase one base Windchill Navigate license for your Navigate instance and the ThingWorx platform. That will unlock for you the ability to build out any custom apps and take advantage of the ThingWorx platform to build those. And anyone who already has a Windchill license, either View, Acknowledge, Collaborate, or Author, is entitled to use any of those applications that you build there. So that keeps it much, much simpler. One-time fee, pay for that, utilize the ThingWorx platform, extend your digital transformation, and broaden the reach of Windchill inside of your company. All right, with that, I think it's time, Nick, to open it up and see what kind of questions we have on the line.
Yeah, let's see what we got here. We have one from Allison. Is there documentation that maps existing licensing to the new licensing schema?
So we do have available a breakdown of a comparison of the previous licenses to the new licenses. I do have also in this presentation, which I'll give to Nick to distribute, a comparison like to like of the previous generation to the current. So that way you can look at them one at one and kind of have a before after point of view of it. So I'll be providing this PowerPoint, and it goes through pretty good details of exactly how those comparisons look.
Great. That seems to be it for now. We'll take a few more moments here for people to kind of think of some more questions, and then let's see. Oh, we do have a new one from Joe. What's the line for when a user would need a standard license instead of a enterprise collaboration?
It really comes when you're starting to manage anything tied to the process. So managing creation of change notices, change requests, change anything like that, management of projects and creation of projects. So it's actually simpler to view the other way around. The edge of what we want to do with Collaborate is document management. Anything as far as creation of stuff beyond documents is where you graduate into the author licenses, as well as the role-based packages are only for being associated to the author, right? So that's anything doing CAD data management, part management, process plan management. All of those are tied to the author license that supports those.
Shirley asks, will cost be available?
will cost be available. I'm not going to be distributing cost with this presentation. I suggest that you reach out to your TriStar representative who can work with you on walking through the details of the cost.
Yep, great. Casey asks, is there a light license for enterprise data management versus full manufacturing?
So there is so I believe, and I'll back up to the author licenses just to visually represent this. I believe what you're looking for is there a vehicle to only manage the transformation of a bill of material and parts into like a planning BOM or a plant BOM, but not manage the process plan? If you would like to go with that, the easiest vehicle for doing that is putting somebody in a product engineering plus advanced product design. The way that the price points work together, that's the most cost effective vehicle for doing that. But we do recommend that if you are looking to really maximize the value of how you're seeing Windchill grow with your organization and being able to take advantage of that, that you do look at and consider the manufacturing process planning module, because that will unlock the ability to drive towards that.
Great. Joe asks, can Windchill extensions be purchased individually? Previously, they were only available in packages.
They are only available in bundles. We do not offer them a la carte anymore, so we have both the engineering and engineering plus bundles that are available.
Great. That's all the questions for right now. Yeah, so I say we'll go ahead and wrap up early. As always, like Robbie mentioned, you can reach out to your TriStar rep or email us at websales@tristar.com if you have any other questions. And then, yeah, we'll try to send out this deck. You can also reach out to your rep to get a copy of this deck as well. Real quick, we'll take one more question from Joe. Are there
Sure.
any impacts to perpetual licenses?
So the perpetual licenses are still available. So we're not modifying anything there. We are working with our overall our entire customer base in transitioning from those perpetual licenses into these packages in the future. So I would suggest that if you have a question about how long or what the plan is over time with them, just continue to work with TriStar, who will continue to keep you up to date on what our plans are there.
Great. Awesome. Thank you so much, Robbie, for your time today. This presentation was wonderful. And for everybody else, please check out tristar.com for any other future webinars. We're updating periodically, and we hope to have more in the coming months.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.
Thanks.